Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to the live webinar on boarding pass for success. We'll begin our webinar in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Meanwhile, if my voice is audible, can you write yes or give me a thumbs up in the chat so I know that you guys can hear me? Good evening, everyone, and once again, welcome to our channel Boarding Pass for Success. Today, we are going to conduct a live webinar on career insights in digital auditing. My name is Khushboo Vaidya, and I'm going to be the moderator for this session. For all those of people who are new to our platform, I would like to briefly introduce myself and why we started Boarding Pass for Success and how it could be useful to you as engineering students. I'm an engineer myself and also the founder of Boarding Pass for Success. I did my education, my Bachelor's of Engineering in ECE from Gujarat Technological University, after which I came to do my Master's in Engineering from University of Waterloo in Canada. After that, I worked in BlackBerry and Brock Solutions as a software engineer. And for a brief period before I came to Canada for my master's, I got a chance to teach digital signal processing in SVNIT Surat. Now, being an engineer myself, I know the struggles and the questions that students have. I have passed through the same phase. And that's why we have also seen other students. They're confused about what is the right career path for them. Like, what are my options after BTech? What is right for me? And sometimes what happens is students know what they want to do, but they have no clue where do I start from or where do I get the right information from. That is the reason why we started Boarding Pass for Success. And if you go on our website, we started one-on-one career mentoring services where you can actually schedule these sessions with the industry experts in India, USA, and Canada. These are the experts who have had 5 plus, 6 plus years of experience in their domain, and they are the ones to tell you the right information of what is the practical reality of the market, what skills are required, the industry requirements, and so many other things by which you can prepare yourself and your profile for a successful engineering career. As you can see, we have industry mentors from all diverse STEM fields. There's aerospace, there's computational neuroscience, mechanical, electronics, biomedical, robotics, data science, UI UX, which is also a trending designing field, which is user interface and user acceptance, civil engineering, and so many more. So you can visit our website and check more in details. I'll share you the details about our website in the upcoming slides. Now, also studying in Canada, and after assisting so many students who I have helped come to Canada for their masters, we decided that we start an abroad education consultancy. But there is a catch here. As compared to the other consultancies out there that we saw, we also saw the need for students about what after they come here in Canada or USA. So that's why after we help them apply for these universities in US and Canada, we also connect them with the industry experts for a full year of duration in US and Canada. So if any one of you is applying for abroad studies, are in your third year or in your fourth year, you can go to our website and you will know about details in the upcoming slides. We have also conducted seminars for over 20,000 students now, and these monthly webinars are a part of these inspiring and innovative sessions that we conduct with students in order to encourage them towards these various diverse STEM fields that are out there. So here are our details. First, what you could do is subscribe to our YouTube channel, Boarding Pass for Success. We are also on Instagram at the ID at Boarding Pass for Success. So you can go and follow us there so that you can get monthly updates about all our webinars that are upcoming, and you can be a part of these webinars as you are today. Our website is www.boardingpass.life. So you can go there, explore what services we have. There's also a free membership platform that we are giving to the students where they could access the interview sessions from so many different industry experts from MIT, Google, IIT, and so on. So just go to the website and explore those services because they are curated especially for the engineering students in India. For today's webinar, we have associated with STEM Educators Consortium, which is again an initiative by Boarding Pass for Success. What we do here is we connect the university, students, and the industry professionals all on one platform. This is the first ever platform by Boarding Pass for Success that connects multiple colleges and students on one platform. So if there's any university or college out there and want to be associated with this international yearly membership, you can contact us on our email ID presented on the screen, or you could visit our website and contact us from there. Before moving forward, I would like to take a moment to thank all our associated institutes and the coordinators. All these coordinators make sure that students get the right advice directly from the industry experts, because this is a platform that bridges the gap between academia and industry. And that is why we want to thank these coordinators for making all these webinars a big success. So shout out to all the coordinators out there who urge the students and inspire the students to come to our platform and get valuable insights. So a couple of things before we move forward. After I introduce the speaker and there will be a video, there will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So put your questions out there in the live chat and we will address them at the end of the webinar. We will also be providing an e-certificate link at the end of the webinar again. So stay tuned. And one more thing, the live chat, please use it responsibly. We are all adults here. So please do not use any sort of profanity because it won't be tolerated. and also restrict the chat to the webinar topic only. Having said that, I would now like to introduce our speaker. Just give me a moment. All right. So today we have with us Tapan Desai, who is going to talk about the field of digital auditing. Let me introduce Tapan. Tapan is a professional with 5 years of client-facing experience in digital auditing at PwC. His focus is to be on the confluence of risk and technology. As we move ahead, technology will play a major role in most organizations, and with technology, risks will emerge in terms of security, privacy, and regulatory compliance. His goal is to build specific knowledge through his experience in risk and compliance with his education in information technology. In his free time, Tapan loves to read and talk about the lessons learned. He does this through his podcasts, What the Hat and Cold Brew Money, which we are also going to discuss at the end of the webinar. He also writes articles on his blog, tapandesai.com, and a newsletter called Monthly Muling. So, having said that, I would like to introduce Tapan. Thank you so much for being here on our platform and sharing your time and experience with these students out there.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's very impressive, actually, like when you were introducing boarding pass for success, like it's something that I would have liked to have when I was studying. So it's essentially something that you're doing. And I feel like everyone who's associated with this are very lucky to be getting these sessions directly learning from people who are working in the industry right now. So it's pretty great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. And that was exactly the purpose behind starting this. As to thinking, I wish we could have got that when we were students. And that is exactly why we are doing this. So, having said that, Tapan, can we start the video?
Yep.
Okay. So, I'll mute myself and okay. So, Tapan, let's start this interview by you talking about what digital auditing is and how can we relate it to real world applications.
Yeah, sure. So digital auditing is a fancy word for IT risk and controls. So all businesses have processes, right? Like if you have payroll, then like every month you'll be getting a salary at a particular time. So they have their entire process going on in the background, that if there is a new employee, they'll set it up in the payroll, they'll say what amount, and like this is the bank account where the amount needs to be delivered and all that stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the process, and it has a risk associated. Like all the processes have risk associated with it, right? So
Right.
for payroll example, like what if someone in the payroll department is making fake employees and paying them like on the
Mm-hmm.
backside? So you wouldn't
Okay.
know that, right?
Right.
So those are the risks associated with the process, and controls are how can you mitigate that risk. So
Mm-hmm.
payroll, again sticking with payroll, you make a check like who are you paying to every month, and you run it through the HR department, like is this person actually employed and all that stuff. So that's
Okay.
basically process, risk, and controls. And I, being a digital auditor, I work on the IT side of it. So payroll was an example. Sometimes it could be paycheck, but like nowadays most of the things happen with technology, right? Like companies are not writing down numbers on a book, they have a ledger like that works in the background, and everything is noted down on the ledger automatically through a software and something like that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
where the IT part comes into place. So I go in to companies and I see the processes. I understand what are the risks and what controls do they have, and are those controls working. So that's
Okay.
what digital auditing means. And to give more examples in real life, like the most annoying example I can think of is whenever you sign up for a site, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll say that, hey, you need to make a password that is 4 characters long, and you need
Right.
capital exclamation and all that. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a control basically, because they want you to make strong passwords.
Okay.
So, and that is actually a control we test. So if you imagine like your small Facebook account needs that, so think about billion-dollar companies like banks and insurance, how important that password control becomes if someone from outside can just access it. So
Mm-hmm.
I, as a IT auditor, go in and I check that it is working properly. Basically, like the all the risks associated with it are
Mm-hmm.
mitigated. And my role in PwC as a digital auditor is more focused on the financial sector. So I work with banks and insurance companies and all that. So
That's
that's what I
interesting. That's
do.
very interesting, actually. It's a blend of having an interest in finance and also leveraging your IT skills because you have your bachelor's in information technology.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what made me interested, because when I was doing my undergrad, I realized I cannot be a programmer. I don't like that. I don't enjoy doing it. So I wanted to be on the business side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I did my master's in information systems, which is like more towards data and analysis and analytics and all that stuff.
Right.
And I at that time was interested in financial services because I was looking into the 2008 crash that happened, and I was looking at watching all the documentaries. I was reading all the books and reading articles about it, and that's why I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I want to work in financial sector because I was
Okay.
interested in that. And like my role, fortunately, like I'm doing best of both worlds at this point. So I'm really
True.
excited. I don't have to program, that's the best part, but at the same time I'm close to tech, which I enjoy, because all the companies have technology in some way or another, and I
Right.
always have an edge in terms of knowledge because I have a background in IT. But I don't have to be in IT. I just need the knowledge to work with other businesses and like understand their requirements and stuff like that. So me and my role, I can better translate between the business and the tech side. So I understand the tech side and I understand the business side. So I
Mm-hmm.
can leverage my knowledge to explain, like be a liaison between both of them.
So I understand, like, along with having the IT knowledge, it is equally important to understand how to simplify that knowledge to explain it to the people in business domain because they are not going to understand those technical terms. So I think here is also where your communication skills and presentation skills come in the picture as well.
100%. Like, and I tell this to a lot of people who ask me for advice on working in consulting or auditing, stuff like that. Like, I work for a big four firm.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the big four firms like KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, and EY, all four of them, they work in a very similar manner where your soft skills are more important than your technical knowledge. So, like, how do you talk to your clients? How do you document everything? Like, how do you present yourself and how do you present whatever you are thinking
Mm-hmm.
about or whatever your job is? All
Correct.
those things plus networking, how do you network? All those are very important if you want to work for a big four firm. And
Mm-hmm.
then they are like, especially PwC, they are like, if you are a good candidate and if you're a people person, then they will teach you all the technical knowledge. Like they will teach you
Mm.
what needs to be done.
Right.
And you just need to be like strong with your soft skills basically. And that's what is very important. Like, how do you simplify things? How do you communicate with the client? How do you explain them stuff? So it makes their life easier and like our life easier in the process. I would also include leadership and project management like as soft skills because that's very important as well. So
Right.
client communication, project management, leadership, all that soft skills 100% you need. In terms of technical skills, I would say most of our work is on Excel and Google Sheets.
Okay.
So basically learn as much as you can in Excel, and it's a very important software. I think I underestimated Microsoft Office, basically like Word and Excel and all that stuff. It is used everywhere.
Right.
So Excel, especially like if you learn VLOOKUPs, HLOOKUPs, indexing, macros, and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that's very important. Now our firm, like as a firm, we are moving towards data as well because there is a lot of data outside. Our client has so much data.
Mm-hmm.
So we are moving away from before, like a lot of the job was to manually look at tickets which are created or like look at approvals and things like that. But now all of
Right.
those things are getting automated. So as a firm, we are moving towards more technical side, like how can we look at the data and easily like filter things out and then like apply more filters and then get visualization out of it. So
Okay.
more than that, like data science is now coming into picture. So if you know softwares like Alteryx, I don't know if you've heard about it. So it makes like analyzing data a lot easier. Then there
Okay.
is Tableau, which is very famous these days. It
Mm-hmm.
helps you into visualizing data. All that knowledge in terms of like technical knowledge is also important. But the role itself, as I explained, it's not more on the technical side, it's
Right.
more on the communication and soft skill side.
Okay, so now what does your normal workday look like as a digital auditor?
Yeah, so again, if you're familiar with accounting and accounting background, like we have our work is divided into regular season and busy season, basically. So busy season is usually from October to February because that's the time when the year ends. And
Mm-hmm.
like I work with financial reporting team. During that time, it's lot of reviewing, lot of meeting the deadlines, lot of talking to clients, and lot of talking and coaching our associates, and then communicating that with the manager and director. So that's part of the job. And it includes lot of Excel as well, again, like a lot of Excel, like because all of our documentation and everything is on Excel.
Right.
So I review the work of my associates, then my director review of my work. So all that goes on during busy season. It gets super busy. Like when I was in New York, I was working 14 hours, 16 hours per day
Oh, wow.
doing this for 3 4 months straight. So it was very bad. And then comes the regular season, which is like you are training and you are learning more about, as I said, data science. And like because visualization is new, you're trying to implement that on your client, you're building project plans, you are like planning what can you do during the busy season that will make your life easier. Can you think, like can you push things forward so that you can work on them earlier. So like it includes a lot of project management during the regular season. So that's how it is divided.
Okay.
And then regular season we are working 8 to 9 hours, and it's fine that way.
What is the education or degree that is required to proceed ahead in this field?
In terms of bachelor's, like again, I have friends who did EXCC in India, who did
Okay.
electronics in India. I did IT in India, and we did, after going to the US, all of us did masters in information systems.
Okay.
So information systems, I think, or computer science, either of those is
Okay.
a good degree to have if you want to enter this field. Because again, as I said, you need some knowledge of how technology works, how like everything works on the back end to be able to explain it to the client.
Mm-hmm.
So information systems is a good degree. I did that. Information systems management is a good degree. And then sometimes there are specialization in data science and stuff like that, so that works
Right.
as well in your master's degree. And then if there is also one part, if you have a bachelor's degree, for example, in IT,
Mm-hmm.
you can just get a certification in CISA, which is being a certified information systems auditor. So
Okay.
that's CISA. So if you have a bachelor's degree and you want to make your portfolio stronger in this field, then
Mm-hmm.
getting a CISA instead of master's is also possible. Like
Okay.
because we look for people with a CISA as well.
So now, how is the job market in this field? I know you have worked in USA and now you just recently moved to London. So let's say, how is the job market in USA in this field?
So there is something called Sarbanes-Oxley, which is a law in US.
Okay.
Sarbanes-Oxley, it's called SOX as well. So
Okay.
it's a law in US which requires or public company, like anyone who is noted in like the Sensex or Nifty,
Mm-hmm.
or like that is in India and even in US, like someone who is a public company, public domain company,
Mm-hmm.
they are required by law to be audited by external auditors.
Okay.
So if you are listed in the market, then you need auditors to externally come and provide an independent opinion. And
Okay.
that's a law. So like that is never going to change. So it's an evergreen market basically because it's a government law.
Mm-hmm.
Now coming back to digital auditing, which is the IT side of it, and this is me just speculating, but like common sense tells me that in the future everything will be related to technology. Like we are moving towards a technical world.
Mm-hmm.
Everything manual is going to be automated. Like future will be artificial intelligence and stuff like that. And there is a government law. So at this point it's like all the companies will need to do what I am doing right now. So
True.
everyone like will need that. So PwC is always hiring, right? Even during recession that is going on right now, during COVID, they did not lay off anyone
Mm-hmm.
because they know that start October they have to meet the government regulation. the companies will be needing this. And then companies also sign PwC for a 20-year period, 10-year period, and things like that.
Right.
So that project is always going to remain.
True.
So it's a evergreen market, and it's in India as well, the same thing. If you're listed in Sensex, then government requires that an independent opinion is provided by someone from outside.
I know during your undergrad, you also took initiatives. You started your company for pocket money. So, could you talk about that initiative and share your experience as to what you learned from that role?
For sure. Yeah, as you said, like it was, we did not think about it as a startup or something like that, but as you said, like it was pocket money for us. We wanted some side income, so it was called Zest Solutions, and me and my two other friends from IT only, we started like a consulting firm for IT. So if you think about it, in India, a lot of things are done manually, like pharmacy companies, they don't have or software running. So if you go and ask for crocine, they some guy will go in the like in behind the store, and like they'll check for crocine and then come back and say I don't have crocine. So you're just wasting 5-10 minutes. So and a lot of small companies, they don't have technology. So the idea was to go and sell them technology. So we started finding those clients, and we were like, hey, we can build you a software, or we can build you a database system or a website if you want,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll charge you like some amount, because we are again students, so we are not like charging in lakhs, we are just charging
Right.
thousands of rupees,
Mm-hmm.
and we will get experience, and then they will get a software as well.
Right.
So that was the whole idea behind it. So we started Zest Solutions. We got clients. It was three of my friends, me, Jay who is like now working. He was working for Facebook, and he now quit to do his own company in California right now. He's in Silicon Valley, and Pooja, who works for Deloitte at this point. She's in California. So all three of us started that like startup kind of a thing, and it was super fun. Like we used to go and talk to people who were like three times our age. We were like
Mm-hmm.
18 years old, 19-year-olds, and we were going to people who were like 55, who have seen everything in life, and we were going and pitching them like, hey, implement this, it will solve your problems, it will be easier. And then like that experience was amazing, because you learn so much. Because first of all, sales, like you are selling something. Sales is such an important job, and trying to pursue someone and like tell them that, hey, you need this, and this is how you can do it, that was one part of it. Then
Mm-hmm.
I was really into front end designing and Photoshop and all that stuff. So I was learning that skill as well, which was very important, because now I'm still using it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I learned a bit of coding as well, and then we ended up making some money. We bought a domain, learned how to build a site, and like kept pitching to different clients. We failed a lot as well, but it was so much fun. So it was a really good experience. I'm happy I started that.
That's wonderful. I can imagine the exposure you guys must have got as a student, because when you're talking about pitching and sales, I think those are the things which people think about very later on in their career. So I can
Yeah.
imagine the exposure you got. And one important thing is you could relate what you are studying to real world applications.
We also had a story, like we went to a client, and they were like, okay, we were selling a website, I think, at this point. And they were like, okay, we will implement, how much will you charge? And then we were sitting at the client, and all three, we forgot to discuss how much should we tell them.
Right.
And like, because it was our first time, and then we were like, and I think Jay or Pooja, someone came up with a random amount, and then we were like, oh my god, he's ready to pay that much, oh my god, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So like all that things, it was, yeah. And then, as you said, like finding problems and solving that, like that has its own dopamine. Like I really enjoy doing that, because you can see that that person went from like having nothing to like having a software, like in our case, and they
Right.
are using it now. So that was great as well.
So now you also write blogs. You have been writing blogs, and I have been following your blogs. Could you give some insight based on your experience to students on writing? You know, how can they improve their writing? Because I think it is so much essential. Along with speaking, the writing part is also essential in your career.
I started writing blogs because I wanted a passive income. Like I wanted to build wealth. Like if I have a full-time job, I'm just giving my time away. I needed something that makes me money on the side. So that's why I started my blog.
Mhm.
And then I realized writing, as you said, it's such an important skill, and I missed out on learning that skill initially. Because if you write something down, if you're reading something, for example, you've read it and you are like, okay, I remember this, but you don't, unless and until you are teaching it to someone or writing it down, you won't think clearly about the concept that you've read, or else like you won't find the gaps in like what you've studied about. For example, I read about habits, for example, and I think I know about habits, but then when I start writing a blog about habits, I realize, okay, I don't know enough things. So unless you are teaching it or writing it down, you won't be able to think clearly about it, right?
Right.
So my number one tip will be just start writing. And that's what I did, right? I don't know how to write, and I am still learning. First step is just open a Word document and start typing whatever comes into mind. Like, even if there are spelling errors, even if you think grammar is not right, just start typing on a blank page, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the first step. That's 75% of the battle. Once you start writing, you will realize that you can keep going on, like once you've started.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first step. Just open a Word document and just start typing. And I think I'm quoting James Clear here. And people who write simple words, they better understand a concept than people who write in complicated terms. And that's a very important thing. Like when I used to think about writing, I used to think, okay, I don't know how to explain this. How can I use high fundu words and like try to implement it? But the best way to write something is to write it in very simple and clear words
Mm-hmm.
and make it understandable to the masses. And then the third thing that I've learned is, like when I start writing, I don't write the introduction. So like if I want to again go back to, let's say I'm writing about stoicism, like philosophy, so I'll write the lessons learned from stoicism. So that will be 10 bullet points. So I already have those bullet points. I just have to simplify it in very simple words and explain those 10 concepts. And
Mm-hmm.
then now that I've written 10 concepts, like 10 paragraphs, I have a better idea of the introduction.
True.
So I can go back and write a very powerful introduction so that everyone can keep reading.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like what I do usually in terms of writing. It's such an important skill. Like I should have started it earlier, and I regret not doing it. My dad always told me that even if you're reading, just write it down, whatever you're reading. And I was like, what? Like, I don't want to spend like, I was very lazy about it, but now I realize that it's such an important skill. Another effect it had was my job, like my documentation became better. My documentation became very simple. I started writing in clear bullets that these are the
Mm-hmm.
things that I've done at work. And like my side project started helping me in my like professional life as well. So yeah, that was helpful.
If you got a chance to go back in time and give an advice to your younger self, then what advice would it be?
If I had to go and talk to my younger self who is in college right now, I would tell him that there is a difference between like planning and then actually actioning on things.
Mm.
And that difference I still am learning. And I still, so like motion, for example, it would be planning a project, reading,
Mm-hmm.
then talking about starting a business.
Mm-hmm.
All those like things, they are a way to procrastinate. Basically, you think that you are progressing by just reading or by discussing business ideas with your friend, and if you're not working on it, you're not going anywhere. It's just motion. Like you think you're progressing in your head, but you're not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Action is if you start a business, if you implement, if you read about like daily routines in the morning, like the 5 a.m. club by Robin Sharma. If you read about waking up at 5 a.m., then action is actually waking up at 5 a.m. and setting that routine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very different thing, because in one you are just like planning and procrastinating, and in action you're actually experiencing things. And like as Sadhguru says, like whatever you experience, that's the thing you've learned. If you haven't experienced it, you haven't learned that.
True.
And like that's what I would have told, because like a young Tapan had all the ideas that he could think about. Like I had so many things that I wanted to do, but I ended up like just watching Netflix and talking about it. And like at this point, I think I've started working on some of the projects, but I still need to be better on that. And that's what action is.
All right, Tapan, that was wonderful. To all the viewers, I just want to say that we had recorded this video so that we could put in the required elements in the presentations to best convey our idea to the audience. And I would say, Tapan, the insights you have given, I would like to point each one, like at least the few major ones of them, so that students consolidate that idea into their minds. The first thing I have heard from so many students, I'm in IT computer, but I don't want to become a developer. I think for them this was an insight of how else can you leverage your other skills and IT knowledge. You don't have to become a coder necessarily, but how you can leverage those skills for any other business. The next is about starting your company. I know like it did not start out as an idea that okay, let's have a startup. It just started out of you saw a problem and you acted on it, right? And I would just like to tell all the viewers, all the students out there, if you see a problem, try to connect it to your what you're studying, or maybe not what you're studying, but some solution. Try to act on it. Now we have SSIP in Gujarat, and I think your professors and coordinators would like to mention more on that. But when we were students, we didn't have like platforms like SSIP where we can get funding for our own problems. So Tapan, in Gujarat, there is the SSIP program for students to work on their problem, and they also give funding, like the initial funding to create a prototype. So, I mean, we never had those things. So,
Yeah.
for the students who have this, try to work on a simple problem. It's not necessary that it has to become big. Don't go
Yeah,
with that mentality.
everyone
Yeah.
does not build a Facebook.
Exactly, exactly. But if you have an idea, talk with your coordinator, brainstorm ideas and solutions, and as to what you can do with it. The next about the writing part and the side hustles that you mentioned, I feel like those are wonderful ways for your own professional development. Like you said, that writing part helped you more in your documentation in your company. So I've also met an engineer who is a DJ as well. So in one of his interviews, someone asked him like, "How does DJ help you with your profession?" And he said, "Well, I'm a DJ. I get to talk to a lot of people. I network, and that's how he builds his communication skills at work." And you gave a wonderful idea about writing. Like, just start writing. It doesn't have to be top notch from the beginning. Just start writing. It could be anything. Then you can edit it. So I think this is a wonderful way to help you with your own writing and also in your professional career. We often underestimate speaking and writing, but it's so very essential. And again, like the tips that you gave for writing, I would tell the students who are practicing about speaking, try to implement the same thing. Just start speaking. Like, don't be shy. Like, just get out of your comfort zone. So I think these points that you mentioned, Tapan, in the video were amazing, and I'm sure that students would have got wonderful insights from what you shared.
Yeah. And just to add to the writing part, if anyone is interested, there is a concept called the Findman Technique. So Findman as in F-E-Y-N-M-A-N. So that's behind Richard Feynman, who was a physicist in US who actually developed the nuclear bomb. So the technique is essentially whenever you're learning a concept, you write it in very simple terms and draw a diagram around it. This will ensure that if you have any gaps in your understanding, you are covering them. And it's a great way to learn new things. I wished I knew it while I was doing my engineering, because right now I use it all the time because I have a whole library of all the concepts I'm learning and with small diagrams, which helps me remember those things. So if anyone is interested in knowing more about it, just Google or YouTube Feynman Technique.
Right. And you also have your own newsletter, right? And they could visit tapandesai.com, your website, and just subscribe to those newsletters, right?
Yeah, so if anyone is interested, just go to tapandesai.com. It has all the links of everything I do. So newsletter. So my newsletter is essentially all the good ideas or things that I come across on the internet on a monthly basis. I send it out to all the readers. So it's summarized version rather than like you going through all the content, right? Because right now you see so much content online. So it's very difficult. And then my two podcasts, one is about, it's called What the Hat, which is again similar to this, where we talk to people who are in their careers, 5-6 years into their careers, and we understand how did they go from being students to being like this experienced professional. And then the second podcast is called Cold Brew Money. That's again a problem that me and my friend Atit, we saw that in India, no one talks about money. How do you manage money? People don't discuss about managing or personal finance, right? Like my parents never taught me that. So when I started earning, I did not know how to invest. So I had to learn that. So that was a problem we saw. So we wanted to address that and we started this podcast. So yeah, I do a lot of stuff outside of work, but if you go to tapandesai.com, you'll find all of it.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And with What the Hat and Cold Brew Money, we have also mentioned the links to the YouTube channels in the description of the video as well. So students can directly go there and click on the link, so they don't have to search. But we will also be writing the website name in the chat as well, so that students can go there as well. So, Tapan, you mentioned about What the Hat and Cold Brew Money, which are the podcasts, and you said these are also available on Spotify and all different streaming platforms, right?
Yeah, so the podcasts are available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the streaming platforms, even Savan. So if you're registered there, you'll just find it. Or you can go to the web, like on Instagram, you can go to What the Hat or Cold Brew Money, and you'll find all the streaming links there.
Right. And for all the viewers who have been following our past webinars, Atit was also one of our speakers, who is the co-founder with Tapan for What the Hat and Cold Brew Money. Many of you would have seen his interview as well with Boarding Pass for Success. So go out on their platform and check it out, because they have some wonderful speakers who share their engineering career, how it was and what they are doing right now in the real world. So Tapan, moving on, we have some questions on, and also to all the viewers, please write down your questions in the live chat so we can address it. And also to the people, I saw a comment that said to speak in Hindi as well. So if there was something that was missed out or you didn't understand, you can put that as a question, and we'll try to address that in a more simplified way in Hindi as well. And okay, so the first question is about finance, right? In digital auditing, finance is a major part. So how much exact knowledge should you have about finance? Like, how can you get started with acquiring the knowledge on finance part to be good in this field?
Yeah, to be honest, when I started, I did not know anything about accounting, and I was working with accountants. So most of my experience is based on talking to my colleagues and understanding from there. One of the major things you'll need to understand in if you want to pursue digital auditing is understanding the financial statements. So that's your income statement, balance sheet, and free cash flow statement. I think you can just go online, search on YouTube or investopedia.com, and there they will explain what line items or what things you need to look at. Because I learned it that way. I did not have any accounting background. I did not know anything. So I every time I heard a term, for example, debt or long-term debt or short-term debt or things like that, I used to just go to Investopedia and read more about it. So that's how I learned. Or else you can talk to your friends who are in that field. I think that's also a good way to learn.
Okay, you said it's Investopedia, right?
Yeah, investopedia.com.
Okay, I'll just write down in the chat as well. Okay, all right. So the next is about the projects. Let's say if students want to get more insight into what digital auditing is, like you said, there is a growing market because these things are not going anywhere. Every company will require this auditing. So that means there is a good demand. And like you said, CISA certificate, right? That is one of the certificate that students can work for. So now, as a student, if you want to build your profile, what sort of projects would you recommend them to do to get to make this more simplified and better to understand?
Yeah, I feel for being a digital auditor, it's not similar to AR, VR or coding, right? Where you can just open your laptop and start developing something.
Right.
In this, you need companies which have so much data, they have financial transactions, and you look at it. So it's not as simple as like just starting a project. But as I said in the interview as well, I think a good starting point will be learning about the basics of how IT works. So how your database systems work, how an application works, how can they be deployed on a server. So if you have that kind of basic knowledge, even SQL, if you understand or are able to write or read SQL, that will help you kickstart your project. And as I said, even in the interview, most of the work we do is based on soft skills rather than like technical skills.
Right.
So again, like communication, leadership, project management, if you are able to portray your existing projects in a way that will say that you communicated with clients, you managed a project, you led a team, those will count towards a digital audit career perspective, right? So that's how it translates.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I also wanted to say, like, the project that you said, right, that you worked on, going to the pharmacy stores and just
Yeah.
seeing that, that's something that everyone sees it and has experienced it,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
So, all of these projects, like, maybe it's not directly related to digital auditing, but just to build your experience, like you said, go out there in the field, talk to them. There are so many other simple problems which require simple solutions.
I feel in India, none of the small, India has a lot of small merchants. So in India, if you want to do grocery, you won't go to a Walmart or something. You'll go to the corner kirana store, right?
Yes.
They don't have any online presence, right? So you can help them build that online presence.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that can be transferred to your resume, saying that you worked with a client, you understood their problem, you gave a solution, you built a technical solution. You can put in your sales pitch, then you can also add project management to it. So
Yeah.
like that small project can translate into so many things on your resume.
Right.
So like, yeah, do that.
Absolutely, very well said. Sorry, very well said. Because I have seen so many students who say they complain, like, once they graduate, all the jobs they say you need experience. So their question is, how will we get experience if we just graduated? So this is the kind of experience that they're looking for. Obviously, they know you won't have experience because you just graduated. But this way you can tell them, like, I actually spoke to a client, we actually saw the problem, what else did we learn? These are some wonderful things to start with.
Yep, 100%.
Yes. The next question is about data science, right? Like, uh, what what is the exact difference between the digital auditing part and the data science field, or do they overlap, or is there a thin line? Can you like switch between those roles?
Yeah. I think that there is a massive difference, right? Data science is getting insights out of your data. Digital auditing is essentially your auditing risk and controls. So data science does not have the aspect of risk, right? You can use data science in any field. You can use it in finance, technology. You're just getting insights out of the data that is given to you.
Right.
Digital audit, you are understanding the underlying risk, controls, and you are trying to test that. So that's the biggest difference, right? So they are completely different. In terms of overlap, I think now going forward, they are bringing data science into digital auditing, in the sense that if you think about your ledger, general ledger, right, where all the financial transactions are reported at year end, using data science, because those are like millions of records. So using data science, they are able to get better insight on that data. So that's how data science can be used in digital auditing. But they are completely different, right? Yeah.
Right, right. Okay. What about blockchain? Because this is finance and IT. Can you give some insight into what blockchain is and how could it be related to this field?
I am no expert, and I'm just being honest here. I'm no expert in blockchain. It's a new technology. PwC has started implementing audit work on blockchain as banks move towards a blockchain technology. PwC as a firm is moving ahead because they see there will be a requirement to auditing. But with my limited knowledge in blockchain, I think it's self-auditing because you can't make a transaction on the blockchain unless someone else like writes it. So it's kind of an audit as it is ongoing. So I don't know how PwC will approach that problem.
Okay.
But I'm just being honest, I have no idea how it will work in the future. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. The next question we have is about investment. So, being in India, can I invest in US stock market by the Indian account, demat account?
Yeah, and so there is an application called Vested, which was developed by one of my not colleagues, my classmates in DJ Sangvi. His name is Viramsha. He developed a application called Vested, using which you can invest in US stocks from India with an Indian demat account. So I think it's possible. I just know about this one application, but there will be better ways in which you can invest. Because a lot of investors in India are investing in US products because, and to be honest, you like if you're in India, you used Facebook, you've used WhatsApp, you've used Google, you've used Microsoft, right? You were using all the products. So why can't you own that business, right? Why can't you own the stocks?
Right.
So I'm pretty sure there is a way, and I just know Vested, but there might be different ways as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Does artificial intelligence have any role in this field?
Yeah, so PwC recently has started implementing artificial intelligence in, again, going back to the journal, general ledger, right, where there are multiple millions of journals being written, right? So they're using artificial intelligence to kind of read those transactions and preempt that if there is a fraudulent transaction that is going to happen or that has happened, how do you report it? Because we as manual testers of control, we can only look at like if there are 1,000,000 transactions, we can hardly look at 1,000 right throughout the year because it's so much work. But if you have artificial intelligence implemented on that data store, then it just becomes easier. But there are problems, right? Because we as external auditors, we go and work with our clients who won't be ready to give us access to that data, right? So there are issues, but artificial intelligence has started playing a role because it just makes sense. It makes our life easier. It makes our clients' life easier. So yeah, there is some progress happening in that, and in the future there will be use of AI for sure.
Right, absolutely. And AI is being implemented in so many different sectors. Any sector you pick, it is connected to that. So those are also few of the projects that students can work on as well, because there's no limit to what field you can implement it in.
Yeah, and as I said, right, for if you want to pursue your career in digital audit, any technical knowledge that you develop as students and you portray it in your resume will, in a way, help you out.
Correct. Okay. The next question is about, I think you already mentioned it in your webinar, but the question is there any good scope for digital auditors in India?
Yeah, so a couple of my friends are digital audit in India. It's called IT risk and controls, I think, or it can be called IT audit. It has multiple names. Every firm have their own way of calling it out. Someone might also call it internal audit, and then in parentheses it will be IT. So you just need to look out for those roles. But in India, there is definitely scope in this. Again, big four firms, they work. We have a team in PwC India as well who we work with. So yeah, there is definite scope in this field. And as in terms of career progression, because I'm assuming that will be your next thought process in terms of like, okay, I became an IT auditor, digital auditor, what I become after that. So in terms of career progression, like you start as an associate and you go to senior, manager, partner level. So you'll progress in a similar fashion, even with IT audit. Or else if you find something else interesting while you're doing IT audit, because IT audit is a lot of things. You learn about data security, you learn about data privacy, you learn about data compliance. So after starting as an IT auditor, you can move to any of those fields, right? You can become a compliance manager, a compliance program manager, or you can become a risk officer. So you can do all of those things as you progress in your career.
Right. And also, like you said, that you learn on the job. They will teach you.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like have all the knowledge before you go in. And you said you also had limited knowledge on the finance side as well. You learned as you proceeded. Only the
Yeah.
soft skills are
Yeah,
important.
100%. And there is like no one prepares you to become an IT auditor. I don't think so. There is a degree for IT auditing like there is for computer science, right? So it's a culmination of multiple skills that you have that goes into that role, right? So there is no like standard set of skills. But as I said in my interview as well, like initially, if you have good project management, good communication, good Excel, and some basic knowledge of technology, then you can get started.
Right, right. Uh, Next question is about what is your thought on intraday for profession? Does
Intraday as in trading.
So the person who has asked this question, can you please clarify? Till then, we'll move on to the next question and then we'll come back to this.
Yeah.
So you said, right, like we were never taught what to do about the money once we start earning, and that's why you started Cold Brew Money podcast as well. So what is that one important insight that you could give students once they start earning? What should their thought process be in terms of investment?
Yeah, don't make the mistakes I made. Always spend less than you earn, because that's the only way to make wealth. Never in US it's very easy, especially in India. I feel we are inculcated with value and like that value, and most of the transaction are cash based. So if you don't have the cash, you can't buy something. In US, everything is credit card based. So it's a high probability that you will be spending money that you don't have because it's on your credit card.
Right.
And the truth about credit cards is you always have to pay your credit back, right?
Correct.
So I think the biggest lesson I personally have learned is never spend money that you don't have. Always be frugal about it. Like always spend money after you've saved enough. So in terms of thought process is essentially you get your income, but people what they do is they spend their money and whatever remains they save it. But the way it should work is you get your paycheck, you save it, and then whatever is left you spend that. So
Right.
I think that's a switch that everyone needs to make.
Correct, correct, very true. And you, like you rightly said that in India we are always taught on saving, and we always know not to spend money that you don't have. Versus here
Yeah,
in North America, we have seen that oh, we have credit card, we have money, we spend it, but it's still not your money. You still have to pay it back. So it's
exactly.
very important, like you said, to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And so coming back to the previous question, what is your thought on intraday for profession? So I think the person replied yes for trading.
Intraday trading. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know about it because okay, I'll just give my thought process about it. Intraday trading requires a very set, specific fields of knowledge and experience. You need to be calm about a lot of things. It's all a very stressful job. Like one of my close friends, he's an intraday trader. I particularly don't have that skill set. I'm never calm. I'm always anxious. So I have a value based approach. I buy businesses and then I hold it for 10, 15 years. That's how I'm a student of Warren Buffett. So that's how I follow it. Intraday trading, I just don't see the point. But it needs, as I said, a very specific skill set. If you think you have that skill set, then definitely go for it.
Correct, correct. The next question is about okay, so what about the students who are not from IT background? Let's say there are students in mechanical, civil, and other other engineering fields. Would they be also could they also transition to digital auditing field?
Yeah, 100%. So, and that was a quick answer because I have a lot of friends and colleagues in PwC who are from supply chain. Some are not even from engineering, they are from commerce background, right? They did finance as their major. So, you can definitely switch. As I said, you just need basic skills in IT, which you will learn on the job.
Right.
And everything else is soft skills. So there is definite scope. Your degree does not matter till the time your resume shows you have the right skill set to be part of that job.
Okay, that that's very true. And let's say if there is a chemical engineer or a mechanical engineer who is interviewing for this role, what can he or she have on their resume to show that they are willing to learn? Because that would be the first question. You are from this background, especially in India. Why
Yeah,
do you want to switch over? So
yeah,
what would
switch
be
over
your
it.
advice to them?
First of all, their resume should show those skill sets. Like again, going back, I keep repeating the same thing, but project management, leadership, communication,
Right.
those skills, if you are able to portray on your resume, you're already on the positive side. And then for the question that why do you want to switch, I feel the right answer is always that technology will be used in the future, and right now is the correct time to make that switch. I think that's a very good answer to have. And
Right.
also, if you tell your interviewer with examples that in the past you did not know about something and you did your best to learn about it, and now you are like kind of professional in it, they will definitely pay heed to it. Example in that will be going back to my podcast, right? If in the future I decide I want to do podcasting full time, I go to a media company, I interview with them, I'll tell them that I have an IT background, but I was so passionate about podcasting, I started my own podcast. Here's an example. I editing audio and all that stuff, right? So
Right.
if you can back what you want to do with examples, it always makes a good impression on the interviewer.
Absolutely, that's very good advice and very good insight. And for any profession switch, right? This a very good answer that you could go along with.
Yeah.
So, students, if you have any more questions, this is the time. Just write them down because we'll be wrapping up our session in a few minutes. So while we give some more time to students, till that time, would you recommend any resources, like any Twitter handles that students should follow for their personal development, or any particular book that you would recommend them to read?
Um, I'll plug in my website again, sorry, but if you go to tapandesai.com/reading, or if you
Okay.
go to tapandesai.com/resources, I have laid out all my favorite books and all my favorite website Twitter handles there. So you can check that out. But just to give an example, like not, but like for the webinar, my three favorite books are Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, which covers all the entrepreneurs, athletes, everything. There are like 50, 60 individuals from whom Tim Ferriss has taken insights, and then there is 1 page or 2 page of insights per person. So it's a great book to read. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Everyone has read it, I feel, at this point, but it's about how do you build habits that stay with you for life? How do you build those systems? And then the third book is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It's about psychology and how we as humans have biases which we don't know about. For example, authority bias, right? Like on TV, you see, right, 9 out of 10 doctors recommend some toothpaste. But why do they do that? Because if a person in a white lab coat tells you to buy something, you in your brain you're like, okay, this person knows it, even though they are actors, right? So that bias is inbuilt in us. So that book talks about all those biases and models that you can be aware of, and that will help you make better decisions. So I think those are my three favorite books. I can't hear you.
Yeah, that was a wonderful advice. A wonderful suggestion for the book that you said, especially the psychology part. It's very interesting. Just on a daily basis, how much are we inclined towards certain things, and we don't even know why we do
Yeah.
that and make decisions. But I
Yeah.
think, yes.
No, I started writing in my blog about that only because I am very curious about how do we make decisions. So there is this whole idea of mental models. So those are frameworks that you can use
Right.
to think about and make decisions using them. So if someone is interested, you can also Google mental models and you'll find a lot of things. That has changed my life essentially since I've stumbled upon that idea.
Right, right. So, to all the viewers, definitely check out www.tapandesai.com. And if you want to have suggestions for reading, you can just do /reading, or you could just go to
Yeah.
the website and just browse over there.
Yeah.
So, I think we have covered all the questions that we had. And thank you so much for giving such wonderful insights. You not only shared about your professional experience, but also what you do in your personal life with your podcast and your own blog, and how much you read, and the insights you shared on writing and how it helps in your professional careers as well. So thank you so much for being on our platform and guiding students here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And if anyone is interested in connecting to me, like you can just search for me on LinkedIn. You can add me there. Again, if you go to my website, you'll find my LinkedIn profile if you're not able to find it. But thank you so much for having me. And I hope I was able to help in some way or the other. And if you have any other questions, you definitely reach out to me.
For sure. So I think this question was updated late in the chat, but we can have that one question answered. What tools are used in auditing? I think you already mentioned during the webinar, but would you like to
Yeah.
answer that?
So if they're looking for specific technical tools, Excel is the biggest one. We use a lot of VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, because as I said, auditing is about looking at data and testing those samples. So we use a lot of that. We've recently started using Alteryx, which is used for data modeling and data analysis, but you don't have to code anything on it. It's drag and drop. So that's a good tool. And also we started recently using Tableau, which is used to visualize data and create dashboards out of it. So if you're looking for very particular tools, those are some of the tools that a lot of companies are using right now.
Okay, so this is good because they don't have to start like from the core technical skills. Excel is something that you can easily build skills on, work on as well. So yeah, thank you so much once again, Tapan, for again answering that question. And once again, thank you for being on the webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to all the viewers, in order for you to download the e-certificate, I'll put this link on your screen in just a second. Okay, so you'll be able to see here that go to www.boardingpass.live/e-certificate. I've also mentioned the link in the live chat as well. So you can just click on the link. There will be a few questions based on the webinar. You can provide your feedback, and then you can easily download your e-certificate. If you are having trouble clicking on the link in the live chat, just copy and paste it in your Google browser. If even that doesn't work, just manually see and write it down. Go there, provide your feedback, and you can download the e-certificate. Once again, thank you so much everyone to be here and attending this webinar on digital auditing. For more monthly webinars, you can subscribe to our channel and also follow us on Instagram at the Boarding Pass for Success, where you will get updates on what upcoming webinars we have. So thank you so much once again, and have a good evening.